She was standing on her own front porch, coffee in her hand, sweatpants on, slippers on her feet, just a normal Saturday morning. Then, without warning, tires screamed against the pavement. Police cars came flying around the corner like the street was on fire, lights flashing, doors slamming open before the cars even stopped moving. They thought they were about to catch a criminal. What they found instead would end careers and expose a truth this whole neighborhood never saw coming. Because the woman on that porch was not a stranger. She was the most powerful law enforcement officer in the entire district, and she was about to teach everyone watching a lesson they would never forget. Her name was Olivia Carmichael. For 3 days straight, she had barely slept, buried in a courthouse war room tearing apart a massive trafficking case. As the newly appointed United States Attorney, her life was built from pressure, courtrooms, and career criminals trying to stare her down. But this Saturday, all she wanted was peace. A quiet cup of coffee, a few minutes where nobody needed anything from her. She had just bought a home in Hawthorne Hills, a neighborhood where the lawns looked like carpet and neighbors spoke through passive-aggressive posts instead of hellos. She stepped outside in her old Georgetown hoodie, hair in a messy bun, mug in hand, and breathed in the crisp autumn air. She had no idea she was already being watched. 3 houses down, behind pristine white blinds, a woman named Brenda Wallace pressed her face to the window. Brenda saw herself as the guardian of Hawthorne Hills. She looked at Olivia standing casually on the porch of a house she knew had sold for over $1 million, and something twisted inside her. She didn't walk over. She didn't wave. She picked up her phone and dialed 911, her voice shaking with manufactured panic. "There's a suspicious woman on the porch. She looks completely out of place. I think she's casing the property. The real owners just bought this house, and this is definitely not them." 10 minutes later, the peace shattered. 2 cruisers came flying around the corner, swerving hard into her driveway. Olivia stood up slowly. She had worked beside police for years, but the second these 2 men stepped out, she knew something was wrong. The lead officer was heavy-set, late 40s, his hand already resting on his weapon. His name tag read Stanton. Behind him trailed a nervous rookie, Officer Hayes. "Hands where I can see them," Stanton barked. Olivia didn't flinch. She sipped her coffee. "Good morning, officers. Is there a problem?" "Step off the porch, now." Stanton moved closer, radiating hostility. "Don't make any sudden movements." "I'm perfectly comfortable right here," Olivia replied, her tone smooth as a courtroom cross-examination. "What exactly is the issue?" "We got a call about a burglary in progress. I need identification. Now." "A burglary?" "Officer, I'm holding a coffee mug in fuzzy slippers." "I don't need the attitude." Stanton stepped onto the porch, crossing into her space. "You don't fit the profile of people who live here. Hand over your ID." Olivia's eyes locked onto his name tag. "Officer Stanton, under the 4th Amendment, you cannot force me to identify myself without real suspicion that I've committed a crime. Being a black woman in a hoodie is not a criminal offense." Stanton's ego swallowed his hesitation whole. "I don't care what law degree you printed off the internet. Out here, I give the orders. Hand over ID in 5 seconds, or you're going in handcuffs." Neighbors were stepping onto their lawns now, phones rising. Brenda watched with quiet satisfaction, waiting for the moment she believed was coming. "I am not trespassing. I am not interfering. And I am not handing over my information to satisfy your profiling," Olivia said coldly. "You're standing on private property without a warrant." Hayes tried to play peacemaker. "Ma'am, just show us ID. Why make this hard?" "Because my rights don't disappear just because your dispatcher got a call from a nervous neighbor who doesn't like my skin color," Olivia said. "You have no jurisdiction. You have no probable cause." "That's it. Stanton unclipped his handcuffs. Turn around. Olivia didn't move. If you put those cuffs on my wrists, Derek Stanton, it will be the worst mistake of your career. You won't just face a lawsuit. You'll lose your badge, your pension, and your pride. Stanton froze. Suspects didn't deliver ice-cold warnings like a judge reading a sentence. Are you threatening me? It's not a threat. It's a guarantee. Olivia raised an open palm. Call your watch commander. Ask for Captain David Miller. Tell him exactly who you're talking to. I'm not calling the captain over a trespasser. I am not a trespasser. I am the United States Attorney for this district. And if you won't call him, I will. Silence dropped over the porch. Hayes went pale, remembering the name from roll call weeks earlier. Stanton stared at her hoodie and slippers, trying to reconcile them with her words. You're lying, he muttered, but he didn't move to cuff her. There's an easy way to find out. Call him, or call Chief Robertson. I had dinner with him Thursday. Hayes grabbed his radio with shaking hands. Dispatch, we need a supervisor here now. Copy. Captain Miller, 5 minutes. Olivia sat down in her patio chair, crossed her legs, and lifted her mug. Let's see how much constitutional law you learn in 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes were agony for the officers and a masterclass in quiet dominance for Olivia. She watched Stanton's confidence leak out of him drop by drop. If you really are who you say, Stanton muttered, you should understand why we investigate suspicious calls. Doing your job means following the Constitution, Olivia said. You acted as a weapon for someone else's prejudice. You skipped straight to detainment with zero suspicion. You didn't investigate. You assumed. A black SUV screeched to a stop, blocking the street. Captain David Miller stepped out, a 20-year veteran who knew judges, the mayor, and the newly confirmed United States Attorney personally. One look at the scene drained the color from his face. Stanton! Hayes! Fall back now! His voice cracked like a whip. Both officers stumbled backward. Miller walked up the driveway alone, removed his cap, and lowered his head. Madam United States Attorney, I cannot begin to express how sorry I am for what happened here. Stanton's jaw dropped. The woman he'd threatened to arrest was the same woman who could bring federal charges against corrupt officers. Hayes closed his eyes and silently prayed. Olivia set her mug down with a sharp clink and rose to her full height. Good morning, Captain. I wish I could say it's a pleasure, but your officers just threatened to arrest me for drinking coffee on my own porch. They're suspended, effective immediately, pending a full investigation, Miller said, glaring at Stanton. This is a total breakdown of protocol and common sense. Ma'am, the call said there was a black woman on a porch. Stanton started. Stanton! Olivia's voice snapped like a whip. Instead of using your training and your eyes, you let bias make the decision for you. You threatened to physically restrain me. If I hadn't known how to stand my ground, I could be in the back of your cruiser right now. Or worse. I want the 911 audio pulled, Olivia told Miller. Now. An officer is the weapon. But somebody pulled the trigger. Within a minute, the audio played. Brenda's frantic voice rang out for everyone to hear. Olivia listened in total silence. Captain, take a walk with me. They moved down the sidewalk together, Stanton and Hayes trailing like chastised children, straight toward the house 3 doors down. Brenda smiled, thinking they'd finally brought the suspect over for identification. Officers, Captain, I'm so glad you got here fast. I was watching the whole time. You just can't be too careful. Mrs. Wallace, Miller said flatly. Stop talking. Brenda's smile faltered as she looked between the officers and Olivia, standing 3 feet away. "My name is Olivia Carmichael. I own the house at the end of this street. I closed 3 weeks ago. I am also the United States Attorney for this federal district." Brenda's face drained of color completely. "You called 911 and sent armed officers to my home because I didn't match your idea of who belongs here," Olivia said, stepping closer. "You told them as verified fact that I was not the owner." "I was just concerned. You didn't look professional," Brenda stammered. "I was drinking coffee on my own porch. Let's talk about the law, since you enjoy involving police in other people's business. It is a criminal offense to report a crime with no factual basis. And weaponizing police against someone because of their race opens you up to serious civil liability. You put my life in danger today, Brenda. If those officers had been more aggressive, your phone call could have ended in a shooting." Brenda sobbed, her carefully polished image collapsing in front of the whole street. "Captain, I'm formally filing a complaint against Mrs. Wallace for a false police report. I expect a detective to take her statement this afternoon." "Yes, ma'am." Olivia turned to Stanton, who couldn't meet her eyes. "Your badge is a public trust, Officer Stanton. It is not a weapon for frightened neighbors to point at whoever makes them uncomfortable. You failed your badge, the Constitution, and the community you swore to protect. Think hard before Monday about whether you belong in that uniform." She turned to the rookie. "Officer Hayes, I saw it in your eyes. You knew this was wrong but stayed silent. Real courage isn't just facing criminals. It's standing up to the badge next to you when it goes rogue. Do better." "Yes, ma'am. I'm so sorry," Hayes whispered, tears welling. Silence swallowed the street. Olivia didn't wait for another apology. She turned her back on the trembling neighbor, the disgraced officers, and the apologetic captain, and walked slowly back up her driveway. She climbed her porch steps, picked up her cold mug, and took one long, final sip. The coffee had gone cold, but the victory tasted warm. She watched the patrol cars back out of her driveway, lights finally switched off. She was home, and after this morning, nobody on that street would ever question her right to be there again. This is why knowing your rights matters. It doesn't matter who you are or where you live, because the moment someone tries to take away your dignity, your knowledge becomes your shield. Olivia Carmichael turned a terrifying morning of racial profiling into a masterclass in justice and accountability that this neighborhood will never forget. If this story hit you hard, smash that like button right now. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more real, powerful stories like this one, make sure you subscribe to Aftermath Tales, because the truth always finds its way to the surface.